It's not about how long you're sitting at the desk for. It's about like the quality of work you're getting out to.
We created the TikTok account together in 2020. We're bored in lockdown. We're spending all day together. And it was more like, let's start this account. We thought it was kind of like only who follows you sees your stuff. So we're like, yeah, that's fine. No one's going to see this anyways. So we just kind of like posted the videos and then they got like 300 views, then 3,000 views. And then it just continued to get like larger and larger. And we were like, oh, damn, like people want to watch us.
What happens if you guys break up?
I had like $10,000 worth of savings. And I was like, if I cannot make it work in 6 months, I'll go back to work.
We basically cleared a lot of our limiting beliefs, relationship-wise, business-wise, money-wise, and now I don't really feel like an imposter whenever I enter any room.
The more content you create, the more you get out of it, not just in views, followers, likes, but you just become better at it.
If you could go back and do something again, would there be a different way that you'd do it?
I would probably say I would...
Taz Alessia, welcome to Top of Mind.
Oh, thank you for having us. I'm so excited.
I am so excited for this chat. We've chatted a couple of times offline and I am beyond excited to chat to you guys because I have some questions that I know you guys haven't answered before.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you've done your
I'm
research.
ready for it, yeah.
We'll get stuck straight into it. Now, you're both well-known TikTok creators, but I am keen to know what you guys did before you were creators.
Okay, so before I was a creator, I actually was a full-time manager with Mecca.
Cute. That's why your makeup always looks so good.
Oh, thank you so much. No, it was one of the best jobs I've ever had.
Yeah.
I was so happy. I learned so much about like communication skills, how to work with a team, how to help manage a team, quite a large team as well. I was at the Burke Street store.
Yeah.
And it was like a team of like 100 plus.
Amazing.
So it was really good skills to like how to learn with different types of people, how to communicate with customers, how to communicate with team members, just how to run a floor and things like that. And it was just the best job I've ever had.
I love
second
that.
best.
What about
compared
this
to
one?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's like, I'll just sit
best.
over here. And Taz, what were you doing?
I was a personal assistant before this.
Okay.
So I went for a job as a sales associate and in the interview, the guy that was interviewing me turned out to be my boss and he was like, no, I want you as my assistant. He's like, the pay's better and you're going to get like a masterclass on how to scale businesses. And I was like, sign me up. So I stayed with him for about 5 years and he was amazing, taught me so much about business. And I've been able to like translate a lot of that into the creator space, which has been fun.
I love that. I feel like retail is a rite of passage. Like I feel like everyone should have to do either retail or hospitality
Yeah, and
before
I
they
did
go
both.
into another job because I just feel like you learn so much in
true.
that space. Now, at what point did you guys decide that being a creator was going to be a full-time thing for you? Because I feel like there's so many creators that sit there and go, well, it's kind of like what I do on the side. At what point did you guys decide together or was it before you guys met that you were like, we're going to do this creator thing full-time?
No, so we decided to be full-time creators like a year into us being on the platform. So originally we created the TikTok account together in 2020 just during the middle of lockdown as something to do. And we actually started the account before we were in a an official relationship. We'd only been seeing each other for about 4 months and we became official in like 4 months after. So
Stop.
Yeah.
Wait, so you started a joint TikTok page with somebody that you were just seeing?
yes.
If they wanted to, they would. Let me tell you.
They would, honestly, yeah. And it's actually funny. I don't think I've said this on anywhere else, but I
It's an
remember
exclusive.
specifically thinking, don't ask me why, because it was for fun. We were in lockdown. But I remember specifically having the conversation with Taz and being like, we should put your name at the start because Taz is easier to spell than Alessia.
She's thinking about SEO.
She's thinking about that Googling, that
I
search
don't know.
engine.
It was genuinely just intuition. Being like, yeah, let's put your name because people will like remember it and be able to spell it.
Well, I also feel like that's something that if you're native to the platform, right, it's something that you're naturally going to think about as well, right?
Yes.
Like if we look at it and you see, you know, an Instagram handle with 500 underscores, you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Totally.
How many
Like,
is there? They're all joined together. It could be 6, could be 3. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's something that definitely comes naturally. I cannot believe that you guys literally started a TikTok account
Wild.
Yeah.
just seeing each other.
Yeah. So-
and we were doing like cute couple stuff too. So people were like confused.
How did that conversation come up where you were like, did you just both come up with an idea and you're like, we should be on TikTok together? Like, because I just feel like it's not really a conversation that you fall into.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was more like we're bored in lockdown. We're spending all day together, like 24/7. We were together back to back during lockdown. Typical lesbians. It's fine. And it was more like, let's start this account. We thought it was kind of like the Instagram algorithm where it's like only who follows you sees your stuff. So we're like, yeah, that's fine. No one's going to see this anyways. So we just kind of like posted the videos and then they got like 300 views, then 3,000 views. And then it just continued to get like larger and larger. And we were like, oh, damn, like people want to watch us. Yeah. It's crazy.
The other thing was we were both creating content on TikTok at the time, but separately.
Yeah.
And my page was all DJing because I was a DJ at the time, and Alessia had all makeup on her page. So it didn't really make sense for us to put that like couples content on our individuals.
Yeah.
So that's why we were like, oh, we'll just put it in its own spot. And then it changed our life.
And I remember thinking, like, okay, this could be a full-time thing. I think we were at probably around 50,000 to 100,000 followers when this swimwear brand approached us with a paid gig, and it was like $400, and they were launching in Australia, and they were like, basically you get the swimwear for free and you just have to pay for postage. So we were like, oh, that's a great deal. Like, we'll promote that.
It sounds like a scam, but people got the basis.
We used it first before we promoted it just to make sure it was like legit. And it was.
Hey, just a quick one. If you are loving this episode, help us grow and reach more people by hitting the subscribe button and leaving a review.
And that was the first time we really thought, oh, you can make money from doing this.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Yeah, we didn't know it was possible.
And so you started your account 4 months into seeing each other.
Yeah.
You then became official 4 months after starting the TikTok account-ish.
I think it was about maybe 2.5
2 and a bit months.
Yeah.
So 6 months in total together that you became officially
in a relationship.
I mean, do people do that anymore? Like, I'm 32, right? Like, can we talk about this for a split second? I know this has nothing to do with marketing, social media, or personal branding, but like, did you guys ask each other to be each other's partners?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Taz
did.
asked me to be her girlfriend. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
Well, I feel
I
like
literally had this conversation with my friends the other day. I was like, do people still ask? Like, I'm 32. Like, do you just assume or do you just have that conversation?
No, you can't assume.
You can't assume.
My dad would say, if you assume, you make an ass out of me and you.
I always say
He's
that.
right. Your dad's got a point.
He has a point. Okay, so back on track. 6 months together.
Yeah.
You've been on TikTok together for like 2 months. Then how did you start creating income from this TikTok page? How did you start?
Yeah, after the first like brand deal with the swimwear brand, I remember it was at 100,000 followers on TikTok. We started getting emails inbound from global brands that everyone would know. And we were like, they want to work with us? Like we really thought it was a scam because we were like, no way. And from there, we kind of just started saying yes to a lot and increasing our fee. And I remember we took a course really early. It was called Bizfluence.
Cool.
And it was from a US influencer who had been doing this for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And she would host like workshops online. And all the girls on the workshops would like openly talk about, this is the fee I'm getting for this deliverable and make sure you charge for exclusivity. And I'm sitting in there like, what is this world? Like there's a whole vocab for this space. And then we started like implementing that to, you know, how we would respond to brands, and it just kind of kept building from there.
Yeah. And then our management reached out to us and they were like, hey, like we'd love to manage you. And we're like, yeah, sweet. Like, let's do a trial. So they wanted to do a trial and we were like, yep, great. And it was originally 3 months, but then it turned into like a 6-month trial just because we really wanted to make sure that they were going to be right for us.
Yep.
And then they continued to like get us work as well as like our inbound stuff. And then over time we were able to make it our full-time job. I went full-time, I think October 2021 it was. Yeah. And then Taz went full-time June 2022.
Wow.
Yeah.
So not long.
Not long.
Yeah.
Not long at all.
It was a really weird time because we were in lockdown as
course.
well for a lot of it. And Alessia took a massive risk, like leaving her job to do this because she left when we didn't have a consistent income.
I had
You're like,
I think I had like $10,000 worth of savings, and I was like, if I cannot make it work in 6 months, I'll go back to work. Like, no love, no loss, but I can lean on this if I have to.
Yeah.
And I remember after 6 months, we still weren't there, and I was like, I have to make it work. I want to make it work. We were in a really good position as well because we were living with Taz's mum. So like rent and things were relatively cheap. I was still paying rent and, you know, electricity and all that sort of jazz. But I was in a safe position where I could take that risk. Where the worst case scenario, I'd just have to say to her, hey, I can't make rent this week and find a new job.
Yeah, it's you did make a sacrifice though. She was living with her 2 best friends before that in a nice suburb, and like she had to then like move in, and you know, so it was a bit of a sacrifice too, but so worth it.
I did think I was going to be living there for 6 months. We ended up being with her mum for about 2 years, so I did go into it a little bit naive.
The case,
yeah,
I feel like it's always the case, but I do think you have to be a little bit naive. I had this conversation with a friend of mine recently who also owns a business, and I was like, I feel like there's a certain level of delusion or naivety that when you do something risky, you're like, how bad can it be? Like, what's the worst that can happen? And I mean, I very much approach life with like, what's the worst that can happen? Yeah. And it's like, if you can live with the worst that can happen, like going back to your old job and being like, guess who's back? Me. Then it's okay. Yeah. And I feel like I was very much the same. Like when I started my business, like I had X amount of savings, and I was like, if I could pay my bills every month, and that's all I needed to pay, like live very cheaply, blah blah blah, like that's all I was going to do. So my goal was literally to cover my bills. Yeah,
literally. And that's what it is at the start, isn't it?
Totally. And then as it grows, you're like, oh, this is actually working. But I do think there has to be an element of like delusion or naivety to be like, we can do this. Yeah. Because if you knew what you knew now, would you do it again?
I would.
Would you jump back into it as quickly as you did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would do it all over again, exactly the same. I have no regrets. I've loved every second of it. Yeah.
We did take it very like slow, like stepped it out every step, because there is 2 of us and we had, you know, good jobs at the time, and we were scared to leave them because you might not get them back during COVID too. People were like, stay in your jobs if you've got one. Yeah. True. So I feel like we did a really good job for people who had no idea what they were doing. Yeah. But I think we just took it patiently and we tried not to rush anything.
I love that you say I didn't rush, but it's like 4 months into seeing each other, you've started a TikTok account together. We didn't rush.
Bit ironic.
But I mean, this is coming from lesbians, right? No. Like we were basically in love 2 days into meeting.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah. Look, I'm not familiar with lesbian relationships, I'll be honest with you, but I do feel like from a couple of my friends who are lesbians, you just like, it just moves so much quicker.
Oh, so quick.
Why?
I just feel like women just understand women on such a deep and emotional level. And I mean, obviously, if you meet the right person, the communication is good. I felt safe enough to express my true feelings for Taz very, very early on. Yeah. And I feel like that open communication really like opens up. And then like a woman just knows how to nurture relationships and feelings and things like that. And you feel like, I feel a little bit more vulnerable, and I like that feeling.
Yeah, it's hyper emotional, and I think that just moves things like really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you spoke about it before. You both had your own brands beforehand. Like you both had your own accounts. You were posting makeup. You were posting your DJing. So how do you manage those individual profiles now versus your couple profile?
Yeah, it looks very different, to be honest. Unfortunately, they're kind of like been heavily sidelined. Like I still post on my personal account as much as I can, but I just don't really have the capacity to find time to be posting as much on my personal account as I know is like necessary whilst like social media is still doing really well. And like I could be making like taking advantage of like this platform so much better for my personal account. But like at the end of the day, the Taz Alessia account is what's currently like paying our bills, and we're not in a position where we can be like, oh well, like our bills will pay themselves. They won't, you know. So I feel like Taz Alessia gets like quite a lot of the priority.
Yep.
Yeah, it's something that like we go through phases of being very inspired to create on our personal accounts, and we sometimes have to have conversations with each other like, I need you to prioritize the couple's account first, and all your individual stuff is like on your weekend.
Yeah.
Because as much as I want to see her shine and she wants the same for me, I can't be sitting around writing LinkedIn posts all day for my personal account when we have content to film for us too. So it's a challenge, and it's something we're like working through at the moment. How do we balance both? And I think next year we'll definitely prioritize working on our individual accounts as well as our couples account.
It's a hard balance, right? Because I feel like, I mean, I think of the accounts that I've got, right? Like I've got my 2 businesses, Instagram accounts, my marketing business Instagram TikTok account, my personal Instagram TikTok account, my personal LinkedIn page. There's like 6 pages.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do I keep up? It was just me. Like I have a team that creates content, but like it's me managing my own accounts.
Exactly.
Right? So it's like you do have to get to a point where you're prioritizing one over the other. And for me, I just kind of very much like my business is the priority.
Yeah.
The podcast is a priority.
Yeah.
And then my personal page, like when I get the opportunity to post on there, I think I've dulled my Instagram down to like 3 posts a week, and I'm like, I know what 3 posts they're going to be. It's going to be the trailer for the podcast each week. There's going to be a weekly dump of photos that I've taken that week because I take so many photos. And then there'll be something else which might be a reel or something that I've done, and I'm like, that's my non-negotiables for my Instagram. So I feel like being really specific with the type of content that you're sharing across your pages can really help with that.
So true.
Now, you 2 met on Tinder.
Yeah.
And there's this saying, never work with, what is it, like family, loved ones or animals or babies, whatever the saying is. What's it like running a business together? Because you obviously are 2 different people.
Yeah.
But how is it, like I run a business with my ex. We started it together.
Yeah.
And I love it because we're still good mates.
Yeah.
Some people really struggle with the idea of it.
Yeah.
But how do you guys manage a business as a couple?
It's so rewarding for me.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. To be able to experience this with like the love of my life is the best. It really is. It outweighs like the cons. You know?
Yeah, we did have like struggles at the start, I feel like, when we were
Talk me through them.
when we first started working together, we're so different. I'm a millennial, she's Gen Z. And it really showed. It really showed. I'm the type that like I'll have an 8-hour workday and I'll be focused and like working the entire time, glued to my desk. And Alessia just works on her own schedule, and it works really well for this space because it's a creative space.
Yeah.
And she's taught me a lot about, it's not about how long you're sitting at the desk for. It's about like the quality of work you're getting out to. And also you'll burn out if you're not taking a break ever. So that was a really big learning for me at the start. And unfortunately we had to go through a lot of probably Alessia, me telling her what to do more so at the start.
But in saying that, I did need the guidance at the start. Like I'd left my full-time job. Taz knew and understood how business worked from her previous job. And I was just in a space where I kind of needed to be told what to do at the start because I was like, I've never run my own business before. Like I have managed people and a floor, but like managing your own business is something completely different. So I did take on a lot of like Taz's feedback and all that sort of jazz, but I did emphasize the importance of like work-life balance. And I was like, this is one of the perks of the jobs. Like I can wake up at 10 and I can work till 3 and then I can go get coffee with my friends, come home and do a live stream at night. Like that is a perk of the job.
Yeah, she's got a point.
Do you know what? You absolutely do have a point. And I think it's one thing that you learn when you work for yourself. I think we're so ingrained to work 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever and work by someone else's schedule. And I think, you know, one thing I was literally just saying to Aiden before we started filming was like I shared 3 things that I've learned in the last 3 years of business is like, 1, your to-do list is never complete. There'll always be more to do.
Taz taught me that.
Yeah. 2, there's no such thing as work-life balance. It's just life.
Literally.
Like you got to make it work however it works. And I think if you're aiming for balance, it's always implying that they've got to be equal and it's just never going to be the case. And then the 3rd one was around your skill set not being unique, but you guys are like you are. Like the person delivering the work is unique, not your skill set. So it's like how you do the work is very different. So I do think that's a good thing to kind of keep in the back of your mind around working how you work. And I think something that, you know, we implement in the business now is like my team work how they want to work. If they want a slow Monday morning start and they start at 10, do it. Like,
love that.
If that's going to make them better workers because of it, I would rather that than being like, you have to be at your desk by 9 a.m.
100%.
Because they know that they've got deliverables to deliver on.
Yeah.
But it's like when they do them and how they do them needs to be dictated by them, not me.
No, I love that. I think work is kind of moving to that space. More employers are kind of being a bit more flexible with that too.
Yeah.
But definitely like when you run your own business, you make up the rules. So
Totally.
and if you choose to have like a couple days off or a week off, you know, you then have to make up for it. No one's doing your job when you're having that day off or a sick day. So
I think one of the biggest things I learned starting my own business was around like self-motivation. Like I'm a very motivated person at the best of times. I'm quite disciplined with like my routine or like the things that I've got to get done each day. How did you guys find motivating yourselves? Like coming out of a job where you're like, okay, well, I know I need to do X, Y, and Z between these hours.
Yeah.
How did you find motivating yourself when you didn't have those guidelines of your work time?
I found it really difficult. There was like obviously why Taz was frustrated was like I was like, oh, I'll just sleep if I don't really know what to do and I don't feel motivated. Unfortunately, in the start, a lot of what motivated me was the vanity metrics. So I knew that if we were pumping out a certain amount of content, I loved seeing the views. I loved seeing the likes. I loved seeing the comments. I loved, you know, getting on the live streams. All of that was what motivated me in the beginning. And I think what's kept me motivated is how the business has expanded and like having a team and how inspired I feel every day is what motivates me now. But it definitely didn't start that way. It was like definitely the likes and the views and I was like, I want to chase it. Yeah, like that's what motivated me more towards the start. And another motivation is having Taz, right? Like we're very blessed that she obviously, whilst being my partner, is my business partner as well.
Yep.
Yeah. And so having her to motivate me on my off days as well is such a blessing.
yeah, we are very lucky to be creators together.
Yeah.
Because a lot of creators we speak to that do this on their own are just like, I can't get motivated.
Yeah. And I totally get it.
Yeah. Something that motivates me is just the process of building and the journey of it. Like I want to build this up to be something really special for us. And the day-to-day stuff doesn't inspire me. It's like the 10 years down the line that gets me excited. So a lot of what I work on is like things down the line. And I don't know, it just gets me G'd up. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, Taz, you mentioned it just before, but you were saying, you know, when brands were reaching out to you guys in the early days, you're like, you want to work with me? Like, screams imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I can very much resonate. Like, I know when I get reached out to by big, like, banks and insurance companies, and they're like, we need you to talk about LinkedIn. I'm like, me? Like, out of all the people in the world,
Literally.
me?
Yeah.
I'm coming in my sneakers. I'm going to swear on stage. Are you sure?
Yes.
With your imposter syndrome feeling, like how did you manage that? Because I've now got to a point where I'm like, I feel like it really motivates me and encourages me to be like, you're in the right spot. Like you feel uncomfortable. Discomfort is like a growth stage.
Yeah.
Like for me, that's really reassuring that I'm doing the right things when I
Yes.
start to feel that feeling, right?
Yeah.
But how did you manage that as like big name brands reaching out to you and like you're trying to put your like best creator foot forward with like your newly established rate card that you're like, here's something I prepared earlier. How did you manage that?
Yeah, I think it's like a lot of being naive. You're saying yes to things thinking, oh, it's just a video. And then you've promised to like go out and do a picnic and then it rains on the day and then you're thinking, oh God, I didn't really think this through. And just overcoming those challenges every time kind of like gave that confidence for the next level. But I will say something that we did do recently. We did this program called Creatrix.
Yes. I was going to say this.
And it clears your limiting beliefs within like 3 months.
Who runs it?
My mum does it.
Amazing.
So-
Shout out to your mum.
Shout
What's
out,
your
Mum.
mum's name?
Maxine.
Maxine.
So we basically cleared a lot of our limiting beliefs relationship-wise, business-wise, money-wise. And now I don't really feel like an imposter whenever I enter any room, which is very comforting because sometimes we are in situations where it's like, wow, there's so many big names here, but I just see everyone as equals now. I don't see it as like, oh my God, like I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful that we did that. And that's something we invested our own money into because we were like, if we want to do social media long term, we have to really believe in ourselves. Yeah. And our relationship at its core has to be strong. So before we went and bought like fancy cameras or anything like that, we worked on ourselves, and I'm really glad we did that.
Amazing. Yeah. And what were some of the limiting beliefs that you guys had that you now don't have?
I can't do this.
I'm not good enough. Everyone hates me.
Oh, everyone hates me was a big one. Yeah.
I'm scared to be alone.
Yeah.
Like all the deepest kind of, like even things with guilt or shame.
Yeah.
I feel like as women, we kind of have a lot of these beliefs just from even early on. It's kind of like ingrained in us that we're not good enough. So working through them all was really easy because the program isn't like traumatic in any way.
No,
so
you don't have to go over any of your
it's not like a therapy.
Like that,
It's more like
I mean, we love therapy.
Yeah,
we do.
I'm open to it.
Yeah, so it was just really great that we both did it as well because I think if one of us did it, we would have clashed. We would have been like,
because someone's growing.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, the other person needs to grow too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably one of the biggest clashes in any form of relationship, whether it's a business partnership, a romantic relationship or anything like that, is where you have someone that's more self-aware than the other person.
Yeah.
And the person who's more self-aware is sitting there being like, you need to do this for yourself because I've done it and this is where I've got to.
Yes.
And it can cause such a big kind of gap in that relationship or understanding between one another. Now, the immediate thing when I didn't meet you guys at the event that we all went to with Millie Bannister's All Kind
love,
event, which was amazing. And you guys took that out, which was
Yeah,
very cool.
champions.
Congratulations. We love a winner. But when I first saw you guys there, my immediate thought when I like looked into it, like I hadn't heard of you guys before then, I'll be honest, my Gen Z team they were like, they're so cool.
Yes.
And I was like, so shout out to my team. But then when I looked at your profile, I was like, they have a profile together. My immediate thought was, what happens if you break up? Now, I told you before, like I have a business with my ex. We started it when we were together. The first thing I said when we started setting up the company, like finances, bank accounts, company structure, blah, 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 I was like, what happens if we break up? Right?
Damn.
Yeah.
What happens if you guys break up? Do you have a plan?
Look, it's a little controversial.
Love it.
But when we first started this, we said to each other, let's not figure out what we do when we break up because we don't want to manifest it.
Don't put it out into the universe.
Yeah, no, we did not want to put that out there.
We're really big believers on like where your focus goes, like energy flows.
Yeah.
And we kind of like stayed away from that topic in the early stages. But
as a business owner now, we understand that is not a great thing for us. But
like it's an important conversation to be had now because now our livelihood does depend on us being together. Whereas when we started, we were just posting TikToks for fun. It would have been weird if I was like, so what's our exit plan here?
Yeah,
she would have been like, we're not even together.
Yeah.
She'd be like, I'm not even your girlfriend yet. Calm down. Calm down. Don't get ahead of yourselves.
So
it's important. Like we acknowledge that like if our platform was to disappear today or if we were to break up, we don't think we would be able to go full time yet on our own personal things, but we could definitely lean on our networks and our team like individually as well. We're surrounded by a really amazing like manager, publicist, assistant who I think would support us in our own journeys as well in order to be able to make that work if necessary.
It's definitely like I think long term, the longer we do this, the more opportunity we'll have to like have our own products or like our own personal accounts as well. But just the stage of business we're in right now, we can only give our focus and priority to like things high up on the ladder. And like our relationship is really solid right now. So I feel like it kind of that falls away. Like, oh, what happens if we break up? It's more the questions that we are asking that could put us out of business would be like more so the economy, or like AI. We're like focusing on those type of things rather than where
Us
our
breaking up,
relationship's at the moment. So that's kind of how we see it.
So, but hypothetically, I know you're avoiding the question and I don't want to put it out there. I definitely don't want to manifest it because I love you guys.
It's fine.
But if you were to break up, would you keep the account running and still be creating content together, do you think?
I think it would be an open discussion, and I definitely think it would depend on how the relationship ended.
Of course.
Right? Like if one of us cheated, obviously the account is going to be like
Over.
I don't really want to create content under those circumstances. But I think like if things were to end civilly, I guess it would be a discussion. Like, do you want to create content as friends?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've seen couples accounts like go on and like a couple that I follow in the US, they had kids together.
Yeah.
And they still create content for their YouTube channel together, which is like super interesting. So I think it can be done. I personally would, I think, find it hard, especially if you're still dating other people, for you to have like that account together that has so much history of you being a couple. Like I know you have your business with your ex, but it's not based on the fact that you loved each other.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. I don't know the product. Okay,
It's a chili oil business.
Okay, great. So I think that would probably be a challenge and something that would make it hard. But
and I think there could be like an open discussion as well. Like, maybe I can purchase half of the account from you and then I can create it my own account. Or maybe we just like leave it there and let it be history. It just depends how things end and what we end up talking about if that was the case. Yeah.
Well, I suppose we will never have to talk about it because you guys are going to be together forever, so that's
right.
fine.
That's right.
Now, we see a lot of your life in front of the camera. Like we see you dressing each other up, making each other over, going to get birthday cakes for each other, people's cars being towed.
Oh, yes.
Seen it all.
Yes.
What happens behind the camera? Like what does a normal day in the life or week or month look like for Taz and Alessia when you're not filming?
I mean, for me, it kind of looks like an early morning wake up, going to the gym, lots of emails, editing, lots of not exciting things, but also like exciting things as well. Like I do pottery classes outside of like social media, and I don't post about them really. I think I posted like one time about it. So that's kind of what my life looks like, unless we're like traveling to Sydney or anything like that. But a lot of the time we share it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more admin work than people would assume
100%.
in the creator world. Like when we're not filming on camera, like we're in meetings and we're writing articles, or it's usually computer work. So we've just recently tried to restructure our weeks where we only do meetings on like Thursdays, because it was turning out that we had meetings every single day and then you had no time to be creative, because I feel like it's two different parts of your brain. Like writing an article and being entertaining on camera are so different.
Two different things,
Plus we also don't film every day because we don't feel like being on camera every day. That's just the reality. We have creative friends that do film every day, but it just didn't work for us. And I like it. It gives us a little bit of like quality time off screen as well. Like we can have date nights or date days without it being a piece of content.
I think that's so important, right? Especially because the content is your relationship, right? Like I have no meeting Mondays because otherwise I just have my entire week full of meetings. Like Monday is my like day to like get everything ready for the week ahead, write what I need to write, finish what I need to send. So no meetings on Mondays, like ever. Thanks for listening. If you loved this conversation, don't forget to tune in to our next episode to hear part 2. Don't forget to review and subscribe if you are loving this content.